All right, this is recording 791-791. You can find me at ChristinaStation918.com. I got several podcasts to make. Okay, let me start off with the very, very most recent. So this week has just been crazy. I didn't do any podcasts last week. This week has just been crazy with Jean Roberts and her Manson occult just wreaking havoc everywhere. So, and there's so much that she's done. It's insane to document it all, but it's the same as usual. Her committing crime, her spreading lies, her trying to racket it, posing herself as the savior with a bunch of fucking dumbasses. The same antics as usual. Anyway, so this week, it was shown to me that I can use Chat GPT to generate images, and I can use it to generate images of what she sticks in my brain, the different things that she puts in my brain. Now, some of it I can't generate because it's against the Chat GPT rules. To give you a visual of the stuff that she puts in my brain. So the kinds of images that you asked for, I outputted that would go through. One of them is Jean, where the one, remember where I told you where she injected herself with some guy and they're dressed in all yellow and they're like loving on each other, looking like a modern version of the movie Ghost, sitting on my back porch. Okay, so I outputted that so you guys could see what the guy looked like. Because I know you guys know that's Jean Jernigan Roberts. So, and then another one I outputted was actually Jean pushing it to me, do this, acting like she's some sort of hero. And I'm like, bitch, I will output that and tell on your ass again. You think this is a fucking joke. The split screen of, I told you where it's my cousin Jason and sitting next to a guy, a blonde guy in a Patagonia t-shirt. Okay, so I output that one. And then the other one that I output was the one that Jean put in my brain of the dog walking past the door jamb, and then she told me that she bred the dog. So you see on my podcast on that. So she stuck that in my brain. So anyway, after I output that, I was shown this is what she did that you didn't see when she created that and stuck that in your brain. This is what she did. And then this is what she did as a means to try to cover it up. Okay. And so then I was told this by people in the Middle East because she's making a Middle Eastern reference. So then I was told this by people in the Middle East. That is her little cover up that she wanted to use to cover up what she did, outputting that and putting that into my brain, is not going to work. They are highly pissed. And anyway, so on my way home, I was told on my way home from work, there's going to be white peopling because Jean and her Manson occult stole what you outputted, telling on her for putting that in your brain. She went running off to a bunch of people and white people their ass off and lied to everyone everywhere and posing herself as the savior to all. She's just the savior to all. The perp who fucking sucked that in my brain, Jean Jernigan Roberts. So I was told, just be prepared because she's been out white peopling. And I mean, it was bad. It was so bad. And people are just paying attention to all of Jean's white peopling damage. And then she's making threats on behalf of the United States and everything else. So, which is pissing off the Middle East even more. So, anyway, another thing she did was that I haven't had a chance to make a podcast on is she was on with a bunch of dumbasses and spreading lies, and she keeps claiming she's playing a game, right? Raping and selling kids that she's always raped and sold for money, and then committing terrorism with the money. She's playing a game. So anyway, she's on with a bunch of dumbasses, and she starts spreading lies in my brain. And then inside my brain, she puts a visual of a gigantic Navy ship going by, and then I can hear her and all her fucking idiots just fucking cheering. And then people are like, who is she talking to that's cheering for her? And then somebody said it's people overseas that she's doing that with. Then somebody said it's Iraqis. And I think they were being sarcastic, using a spin on the word Iraqi, tearing up Iraq, using the word racket is what Jean was doing. She's got to be talking to idiots here, because nobody overseas thinks it's funny that Jean Jernigan Roberts of 119 Jerry Street, running a fucking child pimp ring, who committed the Oklahoma City bombing and World Trade Center attack, is continuing to commit terrorism with their Satanist occult and making money on it and committing terrorism with the money and blaming everybody else. So anyway, so this is what I did. I took the inject of the Navy ship, and then I took the output, like I did an output of what she did with the Navy ship, and then I made an output of her with that blonde dude, and turned that into a flag and hung it from the Navy ship, and then put a caption on the Navy ship. Is this who we want representing the United States of America? Jean Roberts and her goddamn Manson occult? Can we get it together and demand the arrest of Jean Roberts? Or are we going to let her continue to pulverize the United States of America and the rest of the world? She needs to be arrested. And then since then, the light side of this is, or the funny side of this is, the picture came out hilarious, and people can't stop laughing at the picture. And then the Navy, the actual U.S. Navy, Jean Roberts committed stolen valor, which I've told you guys that a million times. I've decoded it, and plus she brags about it in my brain. But the actual United States Navy said that Jean Roberts and her little boyfriend are in the perfect position. So they're just future hung is all they are. So anyway, last night Donald Trump was on TV, and she was manipulating his speech directly, and then also twisting his words into innuendos to represent and worship her, instead of being about what he's literally trying to talk about on TV. I mean, it was just sad as hell. So another thing I output was to try to show you a visual of, remember I told you how she put in my brain a photograph of herself with her Manson occult, all dressed in Middle Eastern attire? And remember I told you she poses as ISIS, Hamas, Houthi, and Hezbollah? So I output a picture of that, and I'm like, that's Jean Roberts and her Manson occult. They're running around posing as ISIS, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Houthi. Little fucking American Ku Klux Klan fucking twats out committing terrorism. And I think they have people, this is what they do here in Tulsa, which is probably this way nationwide, is she's got people here in Tulsa convinced that Charles Manson means cop. Okay, you're a cop, and you have to act really Satanist. And then she had people on in my brain, and they were like listening in my brain, and they're like, oh my God. And then they're like yelling at Jean, and they're like, You told us we're cops. You're lying to us. And she's like, I don't care. That's what you're supposed to do. And they're like, but you're lying. You're lying. And she's like, well, this is the agreement. Basically, she's having like conversations back and forth with like new people she hustled into her cult. So there are people that are running around in Tulsa claiming they're Charles Manson, cutesy fartsying it, claiming that they're police officers, number one. So she's probably got the same thing going on. She's probably got regular public running around claiming that they're ISIS, which you would expect that from an old hippie. Oh, peace, love, and all that, la, 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 when she's like back in, like, twisting her mustache, out committing terrorism, and then acting like she's in deals with the Middle East, and the Middle East is just, loving on and just worshiping Gene Jernigan Roberts of the United States of America. And this is what I keep being told. You can always expect the same thing out of Gene Jernigan Roberts. She's white supremacist. She's arrogant. She demands to be worshipped, and everybody who gets involved in her shit worships her. Okay, so you can always expect the same thing out of her, which makes her highly visible. And what's the one thing she wants to do? is she also wants to simultaneously steal me, steal my name, steal my identity, my life, as a cover-up for herself. So anywhere you see an arrogant old hippie trying to say she's me and her parade of idiot freaking worshipers, then everybody knows who the perps are. So until the White House arrests them, they're highly visible to everyone. So, I mean, they just out themselves. So anyway, okay, so I see last night she did a shooting. She committed a shooting. Gene Jernigan Roberts was, and it was shown on TV. They know that it was Gene Jernigan Roberts. And it was in timing yet again of the Boston Marathon. And I know you guys know she did the Boston Marathon bombing. Something to point out to you was how she used MSP. She loves to use Medicare as a theme because she knows I used to teach Medicare. So what she's using is a Medicare secondary payer. So I know that that's Gene because of the syrup and the slap stupidity. And she also used I am, like the letter I am. And then they said she also used mime. So she's also bragging about the silent war. So anyway, so she did that. She committed that crime too. And then, okay, so I'm going to end this one and then I'm going to start another one.